Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and today we are talking about how it's now starting to look like a Mario Day Nintendo Direct is really likely, or something really close to that point in time. But to be clear here, I'm not saying it's going to be a giant general Nintendo Direct. Maybe, and I do think there's some reasoning behind that, we'll get to that, but I also think it could just be a Mario Galaxy movie Direct. But even if it is just a movie Direct, I do think there's some really interesting things going on here, and so I want to dive further into that, but of course we'll also expand on the idea of it being something a little bit bigger than just a movie Direct. There's certainly something going on here, which is what we're focusing on today. Now, several times in the past when I've talked about potential Mario Day announcements, I always see the sentiment that nothing happens on Mario Day, and that is just factually untrue. If you look at things year by year, Nintendo consistently always has multiple Mario Day announcements and events. Maybe these events or announcements aren't what you're hoping for, but there is always something. Going back to last year, 2025, here's an official news update from Nintendo. This is Nintendo's own website here. Here they list several things going on. There was a Mario Wonder Switch OLED bundle. They had several discounts for various Mario games. They had the release for the Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmo. They had a sweepstakes for Super Nintendo World. They had a whole JetBlue thing going on. And they even had a Mario Kart Community Challenge event. Nothing here is like a megaton, huge, ginormous thing, but there were several little things happening all at the same time in celebration of Mario Day. Going back to 2024, I actually think this one was a little bit more substantial. Yeah, they had some Game Boy releases for Nintendo Switch Online, there was a Lego teaser for the Mario Kart Lego, there were of course other deals for different Mario games on the eShop, but the big thing is that they talked a little bit more about the upcoming Mario movie that we now know as the Mario Galaxy movie, and they provided release dates for both Luigi's Mansion 2 HD and Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door Remake. So it's another year where there were several things going on Mario Day. Now taking a look at 2023, there was a LEGO livestream featuring Mario LEGO items. There was another Mario Switch bundle. There was more eShop sales for different Mario games. They had different merchandising. They had the Mario boots and also this van all promoting the Mario movie that came out in 2023. So there were even cool things happening back in 2023 in lead up to the Mario movie. Point is, yes, consistently, there are things going on with Mario Day every year. To say that nothing ever happens would be a lie. Not true. Always, consistently, there are things going on. Of course, those things aren't necessarily for a Nintendo Direct. That is something more substantial, so that's where we're taking a leap here. And because I see people always misunderstand these things, I am not saying with 100% certainty there will be a Nintendo Direct on Mario Day. I'm simply saying I'm starting to think it because it's looking likely based off everything we are seeing. So there's something interesting that just happened though. So VScooper said this on Twitter. Super Mario Galaxy kicks off its next major marketing push on March 10th. March 10th, MAR10, Mario Day, that's Mario Day. New posters and tickets trailer dropping that day. Now, for some clarity, here Shadow Victor asked, new trailer for the Mario Day? And VScooper says, indeed. So here we're hearing that there's going to be new posters and a new trailer for the Mario Galaxy movie on Mario Day. VScooper is someone who provides scoops for mostly movies, but sometimes games as well. So taking a look here, somewhat recently, they talked about how there is going to be a Tomb Raider game, which was announced at the Game Awards. So while I'll say I haven't seen VScooper's entire history, I haven't paid close attention to it, so I can't speak with extreme confidence of their credibility, what I can say is you don't have to look far to see that they have teased and rumored things that have come to fruition not too much later. Like the Tomb Raider thing, they were speaking on it for a while, going as far back as 2024, but they spoke on it a little bit more so in November, a few weeks before the Game Awards, where we saw that announcement. So there's at least some reason here to think that VScooper has legitimate sources and might have heard something, and so maybe what they're saying here is true. And what they're saying here, I don't think is really that crazy, because we actually look at how Nintendo handled things with the first Mario movie. They had 3 different Mario movie directs. There was one in October of 2022, one in late November of 2022, and one in March of 2023. And yeah, that was right before Mario Day. That was part of the Mario Day celebrations, I suppose, because it was right there, just one day beforehand. And so it's really not that crazy to think that we're going to get a final trailer a month before the movie comes out. The Mario movie came out April 5th, 2023, so this was about a month beforehand. And we know this Mario Galaxy movie is coming out April 1st, so timing-wise, having another Mario movie direct, at least around this time, does make a lot of sense. Nintendo's done it before, why wouldn't they do it again? And you might say, well, they're handling this movie a little bit differently. They had 3 Mario movie directs for the first Mario movie. That doesn't look to be the case this time. Yes, but also kind of no. So we take a look at what has happened recently. The September Nintendo Direct had a Mario Anniversary section, so it was basically in place of a Mario movie direct. And then we did have a Mario movie direct recently, late last year. And so yeah, I guess they branded things a little bit differently, and they included a Mario movie direct into a bigger general direct where they showed off the first trailer. But it looks like things could happen in a very similar way here, where they'll have a third presentation where they reveal another trailer, the final trailer for the Mario movie. So I do think it's likely that we're at least going to get a Mario Galaxy movie direct for Mario Day. Give or take a day. Maybe it happens on March 9th, maybe it happens on March 11th, not the 10th. But around then, I expect news on the Mario movie, probably in the form of a Nintendo Direct. Now, there's a possibility, similar to what happened this past September, where there was just a general Nintendo Direct, and in there they had a section about the Mario movie. That may happen again, and we'll speak a little bit more on that in a moment, but I want to focus on a little bit more of this Mario movie stuff here. So, there's been a theory going around that Star Fox is in the Mario Galaxy movie. I know, sounds kinda crazy, but to be honest with you, I believe it. And I recognize I'm going out on a limb here. I am absolutely aware that I could be wrong. I'm taking a risk by predicting this. I do not know, but I am predicting this. And there's a few reasons why. One, I do feel that there is a Star Fox game in the works. I do think Nintendo has plans for that. And if that is truly the case, Nintendo's gonna want to do things with using their cross-promotional strategies to build up the brand, as we talked about a lot on this channel for their other IP. You've seen what they've done with Donkey Kong, you've seen what they've done with Pikmin, you've seen what they've done with Mario. I believe they're already starting to do that with Zelda as well. I believe there's going to be more, and Star Fox could be part of this. Now, if you've gone this far into the video, let me just quickly say that I have this goal to reach 60,000 subscribers, so if you enjoy my videos and you haven't subscribed already, I would very much appreciate your subscription. But the theory comes from this spot in a recent ad, where for a couple quick frames you can see something else to the very left. We've talked about this before. I think it's probably Star Fox. You can see a blaster, it has little lights, you can see a sleeve, you can see a chest plate, you can see the boots, the pants. It's in the color palette of Star Fox's clothes. Now we can't see the tail, we can't see the head. It's interestingly cropped down in a way where those parts can't be confirmed, so there's certainly some ambiguity here, we can't be certain. But Star Fox to me is the best fit here. You look at the scene, clearly it's a scene that's depicting something of importance, where all the protagonists are lined up outside of Rosalina. So to put this other character here, I think it's interesting, especially because Donkey Kong is missing. Donkey Kong was kind of like the cross-promotional character they had in the Mario movie from 2023. He was one of the main featured characters. But Donkey Kong seemingly is missing in this movie, although we do understand that Nintendo and Universal are working on some sort of motion picture for Donkey Kong, because there's literally an official copyright for it, so that's official stuff there. Something's going on with Donkey Kong, which may explain why he's not in this movie, but Nintendo may be using this absence as an opportunity to feature another character to fit around the Mario party. And given that this is the Mario Galaxy movie, including a character that's from space might actually make some sense. So I'm not here thinking that Star Fox is going to be dominating the movie, but similar to Donkey Kong, will be featured in a few important key scenes. Now, I'm extremely aware of the counter arguments. Some people are arguing that what we're seeing there is a motorcycle instead, which you look here at the motorcycle, I don't see how it's even remotely close to a motorcycle, to be honest with you. Like, we do see literally a blaster with a green light. There are lights. The motorcycle doesn't have green and red lights. There's nothing about it that really matches up, in my opinion, outside of it having green, which there's tons of things that have green. Luigi has green. This character right here has green. I don't think it's a motorcycle. Now, others have suggested that it might be Captain Toad's backpack, which I also don't think makes sense for the same reasons. There's nothing about it that really fits there, and I think from a perspective thing, I understand that things closer to the camera are going to look bigger, but it's substantially larger, and based off the camera angles, I don't think we're so close up that this character would look that much larger in comparison to Toad on screen. I don't think it's a backpack either. And again, this is a scene that's depicting the characters at a point that appears important. So to have all the Mario characters, the important ones, the protagonists, and then a random backpack or a motorcycle doesn't make sense to me. I do think it's very possible it could be something else that we're not thinking about. I think that's the most likely thing here outside of it being Star Fox. But let me dive further into this, because there's something else about this I think makes a lot of sense. Keep in mind that Yoshi, before Yoshi was revealed, was actually hidden from the first Mario Galaxy movie trailer. Later on, we've seen that Yoshi is a part of that same fight with Bowser Jr. They just kind of cropped them out and they made sure he was hidden there. They could be doing some sort of similar trickery with Star Fox here. But if you remember about Captain Toad from the first Mario movie, this was his design. He did not have a red scarf, he just had the backpack. But now, he has the red scarf. And I think this is actually a really important hint as to what is going on. Because Star Fox also has a red scarf, very similar in design, by the way. And what I'm theorizing here is that Toad goes through his own struggle in the movie. With the introduction to Yoshi in the party, Toad is feeling a little bit left out. So throughout their galactic adventures, we know that Toad explores around with Princess Peach for a while. It may be the case that at some point they run into Star Fox when they're in space, because Star Fox is also traversing through space. There's some sort of event that transpires where they meet and their fates cross. And Toad gets to know Star Fox, is inspired by Star Fox, the captain of his team, and he starts to wear the red scarf. And so maybe Star Fox is going to fit into the lore for Captain Toad, where Toad fully becomes Captain Toad with the red scarf, with the backpack, ready for adventure, inspired by Star Fox helping him to realize his full identity in this crisis he's having with his friends because he's feeling left out due to the introduction of Yoshi, as depicted in the Yoshi trailer. So I do feel like there's an interesting fit here with what's going on. Now, a really good counter argument, though, is that we've seen zero merchandising or any sort of other hints about Star Fox being in this movie, and I think that's completely valid. It's totally possible we've already seen all the substantial, prominent characters that are going to be in the movie. However, according to V-Scooper, we're going to be getting new posters and a final movie trailer. They may want to have one more surprise reveal with this last trailer, and perhaps there's going to be a new lineup of posters, a new wave of marketing that's going to also feature Star Fox here in this last month leading to release. If this character that we're seeing to the side is actually a substantial character that's part of the story, as I believe is hinted at the way the scene is depicted, then I do believe this character will most likely be revealed in a Mario Galaxy Movie Direct or trailer around Mario Day. That I feel confident in saying, very confident in saying. Will the character be Star Fox? I'm going to predict that, but I recognize maybe it's a little crazy. I understand. But that's what seems to make the most sense to me, especially if Nintendo's being forward-thinking here and they want to have different characters be a part of the different Mario movies, because the Mario movies are going to have the greatest reach to boost their brand so they can then become successful with their own movie, game, and other things. Look at what happened with Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong Bonanza has become extremely successful. We had the Donkey Kong expansion to Super Nintendo World. There have been different things, but it all started with Donkey Kong and his new redesign in the first Mario movie back in 2023. So at the very least, this is where my headspace is at right now for Mario Day. But yes, I do think there is a possibility. I don't want to go out and say it's likely. I don't know if it's likely or unlikely. I'm simply stating that there is a possibility. Maybe there's a little bit more going on here than just a Mario Galaxy Movie Direct. Maybe the Mario Galaxy Movie stuff can be featured in a general direct like in September, where there's more. Are there signs to support this? Well, we are expecting Dust Blood's information relatively soon. We've seen different retailer listings, we've even seen new pre-order pages come up on different Nintendo sites like Nintendo of Australia for this game, and we've gotten reconfirmation a few times that this game is still slated for 2026. This is a major title. This is an exclusive From Software made title. This is definitely going to be one of the biggest releases of the year for the Nintendo Switch 2. They need to start marketing it soon. Absolutely. And also when we keep in mind that Elden Ring Tarnished Edition is still also slated to come out for Switch 2 in this year of 2026, and given that they're both From Software titles, they probably would want them to be spaced out by at least a few months, Elden Ring coming out first because it was actually supposed to come out last year and was delayed. You would think that they would want to announce that to come out relatively soon, and then you start marketing the Dust Bloods. In other words, you gotta think that announcements are coming soon for these From Software titles. Timing matters here. I think waiting until summer might be too long of a wait, at least in terms of these From Software things. Maybe they could just make announcements for Elden Ring Tarnished Edition on social media, and we wait until summertime to get like a blowout for the Dust Bloods, and they have this massive 4 to 5 month marketing push. That's possible. But with this recent stuff that's popping up, a lot of us are left to think that something might be happening sooner regarding the Dust Bloods. So that's a little bit of general Nintendo Direct hopium there. But to throw out a little bit more, when we consider the current release slate for Switch 2 titles in 2025, looking here, things pretty much are done by April. Tomodachi Life comes out April 16th, but it is a Switch 1 title and has had no Switch 2 enhancements, and we've already gotten a lot of marketing for Tomodachi Life. They had a dedicated Tomodachi Life Direct, and they still didn't announce any Switch 2 enhancements. All they said at the end is that it's compatible with Switch 2 so you can play it on the platform, but no improvements or enhancements of any kind were mentioned. And so all we're getting is the physical release for the Switch 2 edition of Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, but that's already been released as well. We got the Switch 2 edition already. It's just a $5 upgrade for a game that came out last year that wasn't even that successful, even though I'm a huge Xenoblade fan. I wish it was more successful. I don't think this is that substantial of a release for April either. I do think there's plenty of reason to think that there's probably going to be something else in April. It's not guaranteed, but there's a chance. A strong one, I would say. In other words, announcements need to come soon. Even if there's nothing else in April, once we get to May, we need something in May for sure, especially if April is going to be as slow as it's looking for Switch 2, because Tomodachi Life is a big deal, just not for Switch 2. Like Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. Now, there's an interesting possibility here, because Yoshi is playing such a vital role with the movie, and is a Mario Universe character, it's very possible that we get a release date for Yoshi and the Mysterious Book on Mario Day, and it's not part of a Nintendo Direct. Let's go back to 2024, where we got the release dates for Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door Remake and Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. So if we can get a release date for a Luigi's Mansion game on Mario Day, we can definitely get a release date for Yoshi and the Mysterious Book on Mario Day. So this isn't necessarily a sign for a Nintendo Direct, it could be a marker to otherwise. We're gonna have to see, right? Like, if on Mario Day they give us the release date for Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, like in a trailer or some sort of shadow dropped information or some sort of information on Twitter or what have you, and not in the form of a direct, then to me that says we are waiting probably until summertime for a general. So let's keep that in mind here. What happens with Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, I think, is pretty important for us understanding what are Nintendo's intentions here. So basically what I'm saying here is that we're probably getting a release date for Yoshi and the Mysterious Book in March, and there's a really good chance it happens on Mario Day, either in the form of a Nintendo Direct or on Twitter or something like that. And so what could happen is that we get the Mario Galaxy Movie Direct, which will be really cool, and they also give us a new trailer for Yoshi and the Mysterious Book with the release date, which will at least be something, will be interesting stuff, but would not be nearly as substantial as a general Direct. But to close out here, for a little bit more hopium, if we are going to get a general on Mario Day, again, that's not what I'm saying is going to happen, I don't know, but if that is what happens, it might make a lot of sense to finally reveal the next brand new 3D Mario title. I think an argument can be made that it should happen afterwards, like maybe in a June presentation, but perhaps there's reason to think they would announce it beforehand to really get people excited for Mario overall, maybe the new 3D Mario trailer could be so exciting it inspires people to watch the movie, and people will watch the movie will in turn be inspired to play the game. Perhaps there's something to that idea. But we're gonna have to wait and see. But the good thing is that we don't have to wait that long. Mario Day, March 10th, is just a couple weeks away. So I think once Mario Day comes, we're gonna get a pretty good understanding for what is going down. But what do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I will see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.